Joining us right now, the victorious head coach of San Diego State, Brian Dutcher. Dutch, that was quite a session with you and Schaefer last night with two headsets on, just trying to be heard post-game.
John could talk for both of us, so we were fine.
Coach, congratulations. A fourth consecutive victory. And obviously the big story these last couple of games against Air Force and Utah State is, God, the guys are knocking down shots right now. Isn't it amazing how much better a coach you are when the guys are actually making shots?
I'm pretty good when they're making all those threes, and Matt Bradley's been sensational. He's just been great, and now all of a sudden we're getting production from the bench and other players, Keyshawn Johnson, Adam Seiko off the bench last night, Grokel Rope off the bench, and we're getting contributions from everybody, and that makes life a lot easier.
I look at your team, and I just feel like it's built right. If you could really take that idea and apply it to any other sport, frankly, if you have a solid defense, if you're able to stop offense, it feels like the offense will come, right? I mean, that has always been the philosophy at San Diego State. Do you find it more difficult with certain teams to get them to understand those principles? This team seems to have no issue with the defensive side of the ball, but do they get impatient when the shots aren't falling or the offense hasn't gelled? And, you're looking at your wristwatch and you're saying, like, geez, we got to step on it a little bit. Has that been a battle this season for you, staying patient and working the strategy?
Everybody's impatient when you can't make shots. The coaches, the team, and, I just try not to stress them out too much. I mean, sometimes the harder you want something, the harder it is to get. Sometimes you just have to relax, trust in the process, and know that if you keep working hard, that good things are going to happen, and that's kind of what we've always done.
Matt Bradley obviously came in with a lot of hype, big-time scorer at Cal. Obviously had to work his way into what you guys are doing on the defensive end. But we have, as you said, in recent games, seen the Matt Bradley that can just take over games offensively. But can there be danger in that where you lean too heavily on one guy to carry the scoring?
Steve, you've always got to have a go-to guy. And the key to being a go-to guy is you don't score all the time. You make other players around you better. We've always done that. And Matt had 5 assists yesterday. So as much as he's scoring, if he draws a double team, if he draws a second defender, he's more than a willing passer. And so when you have a guy that you can rely on to get baskets and then get others baskets, then you got a special player.
Joined by Brian Dutcher, San Diego State men's basketball head coach. Huge win over Utah State last night, 75-56 Viejas Arena victory. Look, we were just talking about this. Social media has changed everything in life. It certainly has changed sports. Guys want trades. They go to their Twitter account instead of calling their agent and getting the conversation started with their front office. It's a strange time to be a coach. It's a strange time to be an athlete. Social media, has the net effect been positive or negative, in your opinion, on sports?
I think it's a good thing. The only ones that danger are the kids. They put something out there and they can't take back, and that's a bad thing. When you get emotional after a game, you tweet something emotionally out there, and then it's out there. There's no taking it back. And so sometimes you need to take a deep breath before going to social media, whether that's college kids, high school kids, professional athletes. Take a deep breath. But that's unfortunately the thing that's not happening, and sometimes people put things out there that they regret later.
Coach, one thing that has been a common thread throughout your tenure as head coach with the Aztecs is a strong finish. You guys have always seemed to play your best basketball down the stretch, but this year is going to be challenging. They're makeup games. I mean, I'm looking at your schedule. Seems like you're playing almost every other day. Like there's going to be a combination of you having a home game at Viejas, and 2 days later, you're on the road against Wyoming. How does that work for you, the coaching staff, and the players coming down the stretch? How is this, sort of condensed schedule going to work out for you?
We've always taken great pride in how we prepare for games. I've got a great coaching staff, and now we have less time to prepare. And so we've had to adjust the way we do things. We have to give them a game plan in a shorter period of time. These kids want to please their coaching staff, and so they listen intently. They pick up everything they can in a short amount of time, and we try to be as prepared as we can be. The key is not over-preparing, where we're on the floor tiring legs out, and at the end of the day, fresh legs may be important sometimes in a game plan.
You know, when you look back on college basketball, obviously the regular season always sort of skids to a halt at the beginning of March, end of February, and then you have the tournament beginning somewhere in mid-March. But do you feel like, okay, if this ends up being a special season where you guys get a tournament berth, having a pileup of games, a log jams of games at the end of your regular season specifically, does that put you at a disadvantage when you start broadening the scope and you think about competing against the best of the rest this country has to offer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about the conference tournament. Usually somewhere in here we have a bye week. We didn't get one, obviously, because of all the games we missed. And so we're going to be going right from playing 6 games here in the next couple of weeks to right to the conference tournament. So we have to find that formula. And the good news is our bench has been producing. You know, Seiko last night had double digits off the bench, a rope, Tahiro Diabate, Chad Baker is starting to score the ball. And so a deep bench is going to be really important with all these games we're playing down the stretch.
You mentioned Keshad. He does so much for you on the defensive end. He's such a physical presence. But to see him put up 14 points last night, and maybe I've been talking about this too much with you and your assistants about just getting a little more out of Keshad offensively. Do you feel like maybe we're at that point where he's feeling more comfortable of hoisting up a few more shots?
Yeah, the thing with Keshad is he's not shooting the three at a very good level right now, and he's worked hard at it. He's found an ability to score around the basket, backing down the opponent. Usually it's the fast break dunk, it's the attacking, facing the basket. Now he's added that back down game that good players have where he can back down an opponent and score over him. So that's probably been the biggest growth in his game. You know, he's got really 2 years left. So we continue to work on the jump shot, and hopefully if he could ever get that dialed in at a consistent level from the three-point range, then he'll be a really special player.
Is that a tricky thing these days? You know, from a coaching standpoint, bigs used to play the post, you know what I mean? And your shooters were obviously your guards and your small forwards, but it's really merged where you have all these amorphic positions floating around the court. You have 7-footers hitting perimeter jumpers or shooting from the corner, whereas in the past that was never the case. Is it a more difficult game to coach now for all those reasons?
It's positionless basketball. Everybody is versatile. They want to play to their strengths. But sometimes as a coach, you got to tell them what their strengths are. You know, they can't shoot. They can't be out there casting up 15, 16, 17 threes. They got to know where their bread is buttered and go to their strength and play to their strengths. So I don't want to discourage a guy from ever working on his skills and getting better at things. But when it's game time, it's to play to your strength, and that's what we've had an ability to do.
All right, so up next, back-to-back road games against Fresno State and Boise State. Both tough places to play, Coach. Obviously, it sounds like you feel good about where your team is right now, but what about the challenges always on the road in conference, especially against rivals like Fresno and Boise?
Well, obviously, Justin Hudson was a longtime assistant here. He knows our program, and that's going to be a rock fight. That's not going to be good-looking basketball. It's going to be good basketball, but it's going to be hard-fought and probably a defensive tilted game. Obviously, we're happy we're going to Boise. We're happy we're going to Wyoming. Those are the two teams ahead of us in the standings, so we hold our own fate in our hands. So home or road, we get a chance to play for the title if we take care of our own business. We don't have to rely on anybody else. So I like the fact we're playing those teams. Obviously, I wish they were at home, but we're going to have to go get it done on the road.
You know, that's looking forward and taking a peek backward for a second. It was after the delays from the COVID stuff. It was, you know, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. And then all of a sudden you go on this 4-game winning streak. I'm a believer in the fact that you can learn a lot about your team during tough losses, like, you know, the Colorado State game, for example. But I'm also a believer that you can find out a lot about your team and how they dominate. And the past 3 games especially, it felt like this team has really come alive. Do you agree with that? Like when you're assessing a team as a coach, sure, you want to see how they react to a win, but you also want to see if they can get a lead, sustain a lead, and sort of keep the pedal to the metal, especially when you're down the stretch of the season.
Absolutely. And the Colorado State loss was a tough one. I mean, it was I thought we got fouled at the end of the game and should have had 2 free throws to win it. That happens. We're on a 6-game win streak. But the way we handled that disappointment, bounced back, and still won our next 4 games speaks to the character of this team.
When you look at down the road as far as March Madness and the field of 68, boy, you could make an easy argument about the strength of the Mountain West Conference this year,
yeah.
Coach. I mean, right now you got Wyoming, you got Colorado State, you got Boise State. I saw Lenardi's bracketology; he has them all as 7 or 8 seeds right now. You're right on the bubble right now, but I mean, if you were to speak to the committee about the overall depth, the strength of this conference this year, what would you tell them?
It is as much parity as I've ever seen. And if we get, you even get down to teams like Fresno and UNLV, and Utah State is a very good team. And they haven't found the formula. I think they're almost last in the country in an index called luck. They've lost more close games than anyone. So this is great parity, but we got to hope this parity doesn't cost us bids where we all beat each other up and then they make excuses why they're not going to take 3 or 4 Mountain West teams.
Yeah, I think it's a 4-school conference. It should be.
Yeah.
And obviously, a big win over Utah State did some good. What was that, Fletch? Where they moved up a little bit? Schaefer's all over this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
He's when he actually can figure out the mute button. Which was,
he really didn't want to hear what I had to say. That's all I could figure out.
Well, Coach, congratulations again. Big victory last night. Team's shooting well, and obviously we wish you all the best in these upcoming road games against Fresno and Boise. Keep it going, Coach.
I appreciate it, guys, and let's fill the building. We got 2 home games left. Let's get people in the stands. They were great last night. They were really important to the way we played. And let's fill up that arena for our final 2 home games.
Absolutely, Coach. We'll be behind that. And maybe we'll venture out. I don't know if you knew we actually went to the game. We went to a game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they hit us.
Which one?
The UNLV game earlier this season when
you guys won in a blowout. And it was
absolutely
like,
crushed them.
Yeah.
Well, you got to come back.
That was the when Keyshawn had the back-to-back dunk. Well, Butler had a dunk, and then Keyshawn had a dunk. Yeah, that was us.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you back in the building. 2 to go.
All right. We will be there, Coach. Thanks so much. There he is.
All right, thanks.
Brian Dutcher.
Boy, he has a good sense of humor to put up with us.